Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving deep into the provocative world of Robert Greene, an author who has spent his life decoding the unspoken rules of power, seduction, and just, well, human nature. So let's just jump right in with one of his most controversial ideas. This quote right here, it kind of flips our whole understanding of influence on its head. He's suggesting that real power isn't about brute force. It's about something way, way more subtle. Okay, so let's start with his first big concept, power. It's the whole subject of his most famous book, The 48 Laws of Power. But what he means by power is probably not what you're thinking. You see, we tend to think of power in terms of presidents and CEOs, right? People in high positions. But Greene says, no, that's not the full picture. He sees real power as a feeling, a deep-seated human need, and something that is way more personal. And this is where he completely reframes the whole idea. On the one hand, you've got conventional power. That's all about external control, authority, your position. But for Greene, true power, that's an internal game. It's not about controlling other people. It's about mastering yourself, your own emotions, your impulses, your discipline. And that is why this internal control is so incredibly crucial. Greene often brings up a version of this quote from Malcolm X, that feeling of being powerless, it's miserable. He argues it actually makes people bitter, passive-aggressive, and even manipulative. So for him, gaining this internal sense of power isn't just a strategy, it's absolutely essential for your sanity. And you can see how this idea of internal control flows right into his next major theme, the art of seduction. He calls it the highest form of power for one simple reason. It makes people want to do what you want them to do. Now, to really get what he means by seduction, he first defines its complete opposite, the anti-seducer. And we all know this person, right? The one who just repels people by being preachy, totally self-absorbed, or just stingy with their attention and energy. This right here illustrates a key difference. Vulnerability can be incredibly magnetic. The word actually comes from the Latin for wound, and by showing that little opening, you invite people in. But insecurity? That's the total opposite. It's self-absorbed, it's repellent, and it just makes everybody else in the room feel awkward. So the real secret to seduction is to be completely outer-directed. It means you have to shut off that nagging voice in your head that's always asking, do they like me? Am I saying the right thing? And instead, you just listen. You enter their world, figure out what they feel is missing, and then you reflect their own desires back at them. You make them feel seen, and that is one of the most powerful feelings in the world. Okay, these are some intense ideas about human nature, right? It kind of makes you wonder, who is the guy who spent his entire life figuring all this stuff out? Well, Robert Greene's own story is just as unconventional as his books. Yeah, his life was anything but a straight line. He was this introverted kid, totally fascinated by the social masks that people wear. Then he went on to work over 80 different jobs, always searching for his purpose. And by the time he was 37, he felt like a complete and utter failure, even having suicidal thoughts. And then, a totally random meeting in Italy changed his entire life. So, just as he becomes this global authority on power, a master of its laws, he was rendered completely powerless himself. I mean, the irony is just staggering. He literally wrote the book on having control, only to have all of his own control ripped away in a single moment. In 2018, Robert Greene suffered a massive stroke. And in this bizarre, unbelievable twist of fate, it was caused by a blood clot that formed after a wasp sting. The stroke paralyzed the entire left side of his body. It instantly trapped the man who studied strategy and action inside a body that he could no longer command. And this whole experience gave him this raw, physical understanding of what helplessness really feels like. He now begs people, saying, please don't take it for granted. The ability to run, to walk, to type. It can be taken away. It gave him this profound real-world appreciation for the simple physical power we all have every single day. And you know, this incredible personal crisis actually shines a massive spotlight on one of his most important concepts, the long and often difficult journey to true mastery. He always advises people not to chase passion. In fact, he kind of cringes at the word because it's such a fleeting feeling. Instead, it's deep, almost primal connection to, because that connection is what gives you the fuel to push through all the inevitable boredom and difficulty that comes with getting great at something. So how do you build this mastery?
He says it all starts with a deliberate apprenticeship, especially in your 20s. First, he says, always choose learning over money. Second, you have to become a sponge, just observing and absorbing everything you can. And third, and this is key, you have to acquire skills by doing. Our brains are wired for hands-on action, not just sitting around reading theory.
All right, so finally, we've got to talk about what is maybe Greene's most challenging and maybe his most important idea, that to really know yourself, you have to confront your own shadow. He believes that the absolute height of arrogance is thinking that you're somehow exempt from the darker parts of human nature. As he puts it, you have to get rid of your moral superiority. I find that deeply offensive. And he has a name for this. He calls it our shadow self. It's all those parts of our nature that we all have, but we really try to deny. Our irrationality, our envy, our aggression, our narcissism, and pretending this shadow doesn't exist, well, in his view, that is the biggest obstacle to ever growing as a person. So the goal here isn't to try and repress these traits, because that's impossible anyway. The real move is to acknowledge them, to face them, and then learn how to channel their energy. Your shadow, according to Greene, contains this immense creative energy. Just think about it, right? Instead of letting envy for a rival just eat you up inside, you can channel that feeling into a competitive drive to make your own work better. Or you can take the memory of being wronged, and instead of letting it turn into bitterness, you use it as fuel for your most creative projects. Once you actually acknowledge it, your shadow can become an incredibly powerful and productive force in your life. And really, this brings us to the ultimate takeaway from Robert Greene. His work isn't some simple guide to manipulation. No, it's a profound challenge to look inward, to accept every single part of yourself, the light and the dark, and then to consciously decide how you are going to use that complex, powerful human nature that you've been given.